All right, we're rolling. I believe. Wait, give it a minute.
Yo, I watched a.
Yep, yep.
Hello and welcome again to another Wednesday Night Live with 15 minutes of murder with myself, Tanisha Slater, and my co-host, Craig, and our resident crime expert.
Desiree Edwards.
So tonight we're just going to get right into it. We're going to talk about our first launch episode, which was the Keddie Cabin Murders.
Mhm.
We had a lot of good insight from all three of us going down and really kind of breaking down that case on our last podcast. So if you missed it, you can go back and watch the first episode, which is the Keddie Cabin case, and then you can go back and watch our podcast breaking down the episode and our thoughts and theories and your questions. And that's our 90-minute episode. So, since we've done that, we've actually gotten some more information that our resident crime expert and most amazing private investigator, Desiree Edwards, she did some research and found out a little bit more details about this
Because I
case.
couldn't let it go. I just could not let this go. James Sharp. Ooh. So in my can't let it go in my dad's brain, I got to Googling. And y'all know what I found?
What
His
did you?
obituary.
Oh,
Because on the episode, on the podcast, we were saying how we couldn't find anything. So I just went
yeah,
head
it was
first
it
to
was
it. Yep.
very like limited information because I don't think, no
They
one was really looking at him. They're like, oh,
yep.
she left him. There's really nothing there. There's no there, so let's just move on.
Yeah, but I think that may have been a mistake.
Hmm.
Because as I said on the podcast, if you tap into a baby mama, ex-husband, or something like that, you'll find the goods.
Yeah.
And what I found on James Sharp is a criminal history. I'm going to read the exact charge that he pled guilty to in 2002.
Hmm.
Statutory sodomy,
Oh,
first degree, sexual intercourse with a person less than 14 years old.
What?
wow. So that man,
I repeat it. Statutory sodomy, first degree, sexual intercourse with a person less than 14 years old.
so then, that's in what, 2000, what did you say, 2000?
Yep, so it was filed in 2001. He pled guilty in November of 2002.
Right. So then the tiger stripes don't change. So we're talking about 2000 and this murder happened in
Mm-hmm.
81.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Mm-hmm.
leads you to
Mm-hmm.
believe why, it's reported that Sue left him for abuse. And so what else
Right.
did she leave him for?
Yeah, and in 1981, who was really talking about these things going on in their families, in their households? So it may have just been safer and just easier, maybe even less embarrassing for Sue to say, we are leaving because of his physical abuse,
Mm-hmm.
maybe against me. But not, in 1981, it would have looked a whole lot different to say, I'm leaving him because he is sexually assaulting me and the kids and other folks and all that kind of stuff. Like you just did, that just wasn't a conversation that
Yeah.
you would have so easily in 1981.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We're,
And
of course, we're not accusing him of anything, but these are just facts that you know.
this, right. Yeah. And the age of this charge, it just struck me, a person less than 14 years old. Tina was how old?
She was 12.
She
12.
was 12. And then in this, I also found a letter that someone sent to his military superiors requesting some kind of surveillance on him because they were trying to figure out if he in fact had Tina.
Really? What, this was later then. This wasn't during the murders or shortly after the murders. Was this like long after?
Let me pull it up. It would have been around the time of the murders because they were still in the process of looking for Tina.
Wow.
So there would be no need to request a there would be no need to request surveillance on him to look for Tina if we don't think Tina is with him.
Right. And this is someone who is not tied to that police department though in Keddie, right? This
Correct.
wow.
This is the letter is headed Special Agent in Charge, I won't say the military branch,
Mhm.
investigative services, and then goes on. And then it says, in reference to our telephone conversation on July 17th, 1981, I have enclosed a brief summary of our preliminary crime scene investigation, along with a photograph of Tina Sharp, the missing daughter. And then it goes on to say that they are requesting assistance in this joint investigation and that they essentially want to perform surveillance on James to find out if if Tina is with him.
So I'm guessing that that letter went unanswered then?
I don't see if there's a trace of it being unanswered, but who knows?
Yeah. And that's shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because in all the roads, it's like you were saying during the podcast that you have 10 motives. If you at least chase down four, you're left with fewer than we have now.
Than we have now. And it was just strange that he was not mentioned in any of the things that I found. James Sharp, the name, was only mentioned when it would say Sue left, Sue
So,
got a divorce, and that would be it. It would be nothing further.
mhm. And so that just like if we're going down that road of James, then he at that time in 81 would have still been in Connecticut, or was he in
Well, no, yep. And so that is where this letter, they're speaking about doing their surveillance in Connecticut. So they
Mhm.
have detailed information that can be forwarded to their office in Connecticut. And it is hoped that your agent will confer with the FBI agent there and utilize both agencies' resources in this effort.
So then what would be his motive? His motive is Sue took the kids unannounced, or I'm assuming it wasn't a I'm leaving you, we're leaving tomorrow, we're packing up and going. I don't know exactly what it was, but I feel like it was like one of those middle of the night deals, like I'm just out.
And Tina was taken from the scene, found 3 years later, nearly 100 miles away. Her dad, at least his military branch, received notice that we're looking for this girl, and we have reason to believe that her father may have her.
Wow.
We
So
know what you say.
I said, so the thought is during the time of the murder, he was involved and got her and brought her back
At
to
least
Connecticut, maybe.
at least there was a thought of that. And then we know that Tina was sexually assaulted in Keddie. We don't know who sexually assaulted her. But we have again this letter of interest for James Sharp, who was then later on not even convicted, pled guilty to sexually assaulting a child who may have been in the same age range as his daughter. It's just so much here. Um,
Now I know it's like
Huh.
so much, and it's just like like Des said, she just couldn't let it go. And, every day we're getting like a text like, did you guys know this? Did you see this?
yeah.
And it's just like things keep like being strange because I don't know if we can talk about this, but you brought up that in his obituary, uh Sheila being in his obituary and like the ties there that were strange.
So Sheila, Again, looking at the obituary, Sheila's name is listed in the obituary as Sheila Meeks. So that leaves us to her marrying Richard Meeks, who allegedly is the father of that baby. Sheila and Richard Meeks, it seems, ends up divorced or separated. And then she ends up marrying another gentleman who just happens to be named Richard as well.
It's just odd.
Now, watch this. Our old Richard and our new Richard live in the same town in Oregon. Not only do they live in the same town, they live in the same neighborhood. But even closer than that, they live on the same block. But even closer than that, they lived 56 feet away from each other.
Is that possibly because they're the same person?
Look at look at Craig. Yeah, Craig. Yeah.
It's just not right about all of this. And like it's just frustrating to me that, so many people can sit and just rack their brains and try and pick apart this, but then you have a whole like town and they like that just move on.
Because this isn't Oregon. We're not even in California anymore. We're not even in Keddie anymore. We are in a whole nother state away.
That is strange.
That is strange.
With all of these potential like ways this could have happened, it just reinforces the fact that people say somebody knows what happened.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because it's too many somebodies involved. If it's
Yeah.
four somebodies, right? But this is somebodies in states, 2, 3 states away. Connecticut is like way on another planet compared to where Keddie, California is,
It's
right?
across the country, yeah.
Way across the country, literally the polar opposite sides of the country, right? Um, yeah. And then there, um, James had ties in Missouri. So what do the Missouri folks know? What do the people who James would have went on and engaged with and had children with and had families with, what do they know? It is too many people involved in this for this to still be this far into the level of being unsolved.
Yeah, and as far as we know, like James wasn't, we don't know, but it doesn't seem like James was like ruled out. Like, just who we're gonna check off the list.
Mhm. Because we don't even know what kind of response was given to this letter,
Right.
right? We don't know what the surveillance said, if the surveillance even took place. But it's just striking that this letter even exists.
Yeah.
Does you see things like this in your line of work as a private investigator? Is this like crazy to you, or is this like somewhat not normal, but
Typical.
do you see crazy stuff like this?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. And as crazy as we think this is and astounding and all that kind of stuff, um, yeah, I've seen worse than this. I've seen worse than this. What were you gonna say,
I
Tanisha?
was gonna say like something like that, like, you know, it's just like you just want to take it and do something with it, just you
And
look
and
at it, it's like, and I guess it's just the nature of just being human and wanting answers that you're just like, no, I
right,
want like answers to what this paper means, who replied to it, wasn't it replied, can I send it somewhere, can
correct. And that's the difference between Des and this work and Des and my Sunshine Investigations work. Because to answer Craig's question, in those other cases, I would then be able to grab my purse and my car keys and say, I'm on my way. I'm going to knock on the door. I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to go to this agency's office. I'm going to ask them to hand over that file, right? Um, and so again, once you start that investigation, now you have started to chip away at those things. So if this was a Sunshine Investigations case, just these theories that we're talking about right now, we could have chipped away at those already. Like this isn't, see, people think that investigation is like some kind of genius work. It absolutely is not. It is literally just a matter of fastening your thinking cap and asking people questions.
Like boots
Yeah.
on the ground, right?
Boots on the ground. That is what it is. Boots on the ground. And you can't be afraid to ruffle feathers. You can't be afraid to, offend people because your goal is to get answers. And I'm sorry if that pisses you off, but I need answers.
Yeah. Because I mean,
Like the
most times, like say you go and question James and it's like he's offended because how dare you? Those are my kids. That's my ex-wife. Like, why
right.
would you be questioning me? But you gotta, dig in because if you're innocent, you won't mind those questions because you too want to get to the answer.
Mm-hmm. And in this work is again, it's not difficult at all. Like if I talk to someone and they give me an answer to my question, I might say to them, you just said a whole lot of something and ain't said nothing. And why? Why is that? Are you trying to throw me off this path? Are you trying to cover up your lies or whatever? But it's those kind of things. And in this kind of case, I just don't think that would have been all that difficult to do, especially with everyone being so close knit. This isn't a find a needle in a haystack kind of case. It can only be if we look at the town's
But it's still
population. Yeah, if we look at the town's population, it can only be 100 of y'all.
yeah,
Okay, and now let's subtract the deceased victims from that. So now we're at 96 of y'all,
yeah,
right? So it's that kind of thing. And that's why, like you said, we're getting text every day. That's why my dad's brain can't let go because we have just kind of been. It's like like those movies, those cliffhanger movies where you're just like left to wonder what happened and there's no resolution. Except that is a movie and this is real life, and there are dead bodies.
yeah. I think what's going to be the most hard about this journey for us is that every twice a month we're going to feature a new unsolved case.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be hard to let go. And I think we're going to have like, open questions
Right.
every single one. And I
Yeah.
feel
Mm-hmm.
like it would basically be a full-time job, just
Right.
being, you're going to wind up eat, sleeping, and breathing
No,
fat.
and I take this stuff personal, right? Because in my job, I am committed to doing my part to upholding our judicial system. I take pride in the work that I do because no matter what side I work on, I see that as giving a family some kind of closure. And so when there is a family that is sitting here suffering, and that's what's happening. These people are, I don't care what Sue or whoever, what they have gone on to achieve in their lives at this point. You are not your healthiest and most whole self when you don't know who killed your mama, when
Mhm.
you don't know who killed your little sister. You just not. You don't know who killed your brother. It
Yeah,
ain't nothing that's going to make you a healthy whole person.
yeah. And not only that, it's like you don't know those answers, but then also because it's unsolved, even your name keeps coming up
Even your name keeps coming up.
being a part
Correct.
of it. So, I mean, it's just all around. Like, how do
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing maybe we can hope for is that if we get enough support for this project, that maybe we can at some point down the road start traveling, start
Mm-hmm.
knocking on people's doors
Mm-hmm.
and make this an even better sort of outlet for us to explore all of these
Mm-hmm.
possibilities.
And like, we were talking, I think a day or two ago, Des, you were telling me about a friend of yours, who is going through something regarding, missing persons. And it made me start to think like, there's so many of these stories out here. And that if there's any, if you need an outlet to tell that story, like we can talk about it here. Like,
Right.
bring it, we'll talk about it. If
Yes.
there's, if there's, a family member who is
Mm-hmm.
done
Mm-hmm.
wrong
Mm-hmm.
and you can't find them, something, the police, investigations are stalled, like there's no reason why you have to shut up about it. No reason
No,
you should ever have to be quiet about
no.
something because there's no resources or you feel like there's no one to help you, because the one thing that can get things done is the more people know, the more pressure.
Mm-hmm. 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 Well, my friend has definitely been invited onto the show. I let her know that she has a place and that when she is ready, we are ready to have her. But I'm telling you, it couldn't be mine.
Yeah,
It couldn't be mine.
yeah.
Like I can't even imagine that feel of not knowing.
Like I just get, just it's hard with all this stuff because as much as we like, I think in America we have a culture of being pretty much obsessed with true crime and
Hmm.
what happened and who done it. And it's just like, but it's such a sickening feeling because there's a point where you you when it's not happened to you, you kind of become desensitized to the reasoning. Like we just
Hmm.
want to know like what happened, but somebody else wants to know because this is their flesh and blood. This is their home. This was their family that they no
Hmm.
longer are celebrating holidays with. Like it's one thing for us to be like, we want to know who did it. But it's another thing to just wake up every day and not get the answers. I can't imagine that. I would burn everything to the
Hmm.
ground
Hmm. Hmm.
if it
And
weren't.
yes, and I've watched my friend, and I've held conversations with her. And again, I can't do anything for that. And
Mhm.
and and so that leaves me in a helpless place.
Yeah.
Um, and Sheila will have, her friends will probably have that same sentiment when they talk to her. But it is definitely a paralyzing situation. It definitely is. And just like I said in the podcast, I blame law enforcement. And like even like here in Detroit recently in the last day or so, there was a 9-month-old baby who died of blunt force trauma. And mid-trial, they dismissed the case. And they dismissed the case mid-trial because it turns out that the police did not turn over all of the evidence to the prosecutor, who then did not turn it all over to the defense attorney. So now, what does that mean for this baby? A 9-month-old don't just get blunt force head trauma. Something happened to that baby. And so now the justice for that baby is in limbo because of mistakes,
Paperwork.
possibly, or it may just be we ain't giving it to you because what was on that, because what was the evidence that's in question is body cam footage from the officers arriving at this home on subsequent incidences. So the thing would be, why don't you want us to see that?
Mm. I feel like there's a lot
That's
of
the first thing I
cam
think of.
footage that
Why don't you,
people
and
did.
and and as a defendant, you are owed that because one, you can use whatever is on there to say, question anyone who is testifying at trial. We call that impeachment material. But even more importantly than that, it could have been exculpatory materials on that body cam footage. And exculpatory is just an expensive legal term for this could be some stuff that can get you off. This could be some stuff that can help your defense. And you have withheld that. And the judge threw the case out mid-trial. So now to go
And
forward, what'd you say?
so then where does it land? Like it's just
Exactly. Exactly. So now the prosecutor has to file a motion to appeal that judge's decision, which again leaves that 9-month-old baby in limbo as far as who did that to her.
and then the family. What I just don't understand
Mhm.
you know, our legal
And
system.
why not? Absolutely, just turn it over.
Wow.
So
Well,
it's what you're gonna say, Craig?
no, I just said, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
this happens when I say all day, every day, all day, every day, all day, every day. And when you're not in the system or you haven't experienced this, just like you said, Tanisha, you have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's like
yes,
I could say it's true because it's like I could say that I would burn the whole town down, but yeah, I'd be in jail.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But at the
mm-hmm.
same time, there is rules to murder, and that is disgusting to me. Rules of engagement when it comes to crime and justice. Like a judge being able to throw out the murder of a 9-month-old with zero investigation and just, just we're gonna wipe our hands of it because some
Well, well, but
turnovers.
there was an investigation, and that's how we know that the defense attorney did not have everything.
Somebody,
So it
somebody, somebody either withheld something or made a big mistake.
correct, correct.
And
Got
so
it.
the family and this child pays because of human error.
Because what and whether that error is on purpose or accidental, or whatever the case is, and I don't think that baby, wherever its soul has rested, or that family cares. They don't care whose fault it is. All they know is this
Yeah,
is
right,
justice delayed.
right.
They're saying, get your crap together. This ain't my fault.
So then how long does it take something like this to unravel before, things can get back on track and they can begin to get answers? Or is this just a leave it alone, you're not going to find out?
Well, the real and short answer to your question is however long it takes. And this family is going to have to restart this all over again. So the investigation will probably have to start from scratch because maybe those same uh, um, investigating officers, maybe they're in different departments. Maybe they've got raises. Maybe, I know you told Detective Tanisha this, but, my name's Detective Greg. Say it to me also. Like they're going to have to go through all of that again. And if trial is dismissed, if charges are dismissed on the fourth or fifth day of trial, that means that they sat there for 4 or 5 days and listened to some horrific
Yeah.
information. Medical exam, coroner reports,
Mhm.
pictures of the baby's injuries on the big screen in the courtroom. There all kinds of stuff. They're going to have to relive that because just hand it over. Just
And
hand it over.
that
And
initial,
why wouldn't the police have done that?
so then that initial
Questionable.
investigation is just dead in the water. It's inadmissible at during a second trial.
Um, Not so much inadmissible as it is, let's just retell it. So what happens is
That's like a misuse of resources. to
Starting over. Starting over. Yes. So that's a whole nother issue. So everybody who collected a paycheck,
yeah,
everyone who was away from a desk and couldn't answer a phone, all of that is going to happen again. All of that is going to happen again.
Wow.
And the witnesses who were willing to come forth this time, maybe they have given up and said, I don't want to talk. Maybe this time around they don't want to show up.
yeah. Second time around, you think twice, and it's like, I don't really want to be involved in
Yeah.
this.
And what good is it gonna do me? Because y'all, this what y'all did last time. Y'all messed it up last time.
Yep.
And when I saw that, I immediately thought to Keddie because uh, we ended our podcast with me saying I blame law enforcement. That's their job.
Yeah.
If your kid finished third grade and can't read well, I mean, it's two culprits, a teacher and a parent.
Yeah. True.
Well, speaking of,
Speaking of,
um, to keep things on time this evening, um, I
look
do
at him
have, I
doing his
do,
business.
I do have a question, um, from somebody online, from Ian, who we all know or know of.
Hey,
And
Ian.
he
Hello,
wants,
Ian.
he would like to know, um, how do you guys choose your cases? And I figure this is a good moment, not only to answer that question, but then to also introduce and tease a little bit for for Sunday for the next case.
Yeah, so basically, like I said, we all, you know, are internet sleuths. We are looking for cases that are in smaller towns, don't have as much publicity, are unsolved, are gruesome, and just leave you with a why isn't this solved yet? So we're bringing every week, we're bringing like, did you read this? Did you see this? Is there a lot of information out there on that? And just really like talk amongst each other and say like, this would be something really good to tell. Are there any survivors? Is it a potential that, there can be a closure to this case? I mean, there's some things out there that you read and it's just like everybody who was involved is gone, they've passed on. There's the investigation stalled because this person died and that police chief died and this closed down, that was torn down. So there's really a little bit more of a hard time to get answers. So we definitely look towards the 80s at this point in season one, um, because early on, a lot of things are unsolved because they just didn't have the means and the technology to be able to put all their resources towards finding answers for people. And these people, their families are still out there looking for resolution and resolve. And I feel like every single person is owed that. You're owed an answer,
Yeah,
and not any answer, the truth.
the
As
truth.
close as you can get to the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
someone should pay for taking the life of your loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we just, things that just touch us emotionally. I didn't know when I came across Keddie. I know that it just struck me because it was a mom, a single mom and her children. And, I was raised by a single mom, and I, can relate to that position of having children and having to work, and your kids are out. It's the 80s, like I said, us 80s babies. We kind of like had to fend for ourselves too because our parents were working and making a living. And just to see that, I was just like, whoa, but I didn't know that going this deep into it, it would sit so much with me. And I didn't realize that it would sit so much with Des either.
Yeah. Well, a whole lot of stuff is gonna stick with Des just because, how my brain works. Like when it comes to curiosities, I'm like a goldfish. You can pour the whole pile in my bowl and I'm gonna eat it until I flop over dead, right? Uh, but yeah,
And they do.
and they do. Yeah, it's one of them that keeps me doing this. What?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Keeps going back to me for the fact that it was a small town. We're not talking about New York City. We're not talking about Chicago. We're not talking about a small town of 100 people. And you
Hmm.
have survivors that have not let this go, and you still have nothing. And you're going to blame it on two dead men.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just not right. But as Craig said, moving things right along.
Yeah.
Um,
So what we got next?
so our next profile that we're going to be doing is called the Colonial Parkway Murders, and this is
Hmm.
a big one because this is probably one of the most scenic and majestic roads in the United States, the Colonial Parkway. It's just beautiful.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
along this parkway, there were four separate murders of couples that were found along this parkway, all murdered different ways, but yet similar enough to almost be considered a serial case. And there's a lot of information in there, a lot of answers that, just like Keddie, I'm not buying. And we're going to talk about it.
Hmm.
Um,
And it's another one where they kind of blamed a dead person at the end of
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, that. So I do a lot of post-conviction work too. So people can say, "Hey, Des, I was tried and convicted. I'm sitting in prison. Can you help me with this case?" But I am always kind of hesitant when it is can you help me? And I didn't do it, and I'm ready to talk and say who did it. And oh yeah, that person just so happens to be dead. Like, you're not finna get me
yeah,
into this race of blaming dead people. You know what I'm saying? Like that is always the weirdest and creepiest thing to me. Like
yeah.
they're dead.
You're going to blame a person who is deceased and no longer with us. But when this person was alive and well, you weren't, following those breadcrumbs.
Hmm.
Or you weren't
Hmm.
working
Hmm.
hard enough or fast enough to
Yep.
actually bring that conviction while they were alive. So now
So,
that they're gone and there's no, defending
mhm.
themselves or, it makes no sense to me. And
Yeah, I
the families involved in this one.
yeah, I liken it to a level of cowardice because you are now essentially picking on someone who can no longer fight for themselves, who can no longer defend themselves. So I can't wait
Yeah,
to
we're
dig
working on that one
into
now.
what you say.
Working hard on that case now, and we will be
Yep.
dropping that this Sunday. Any specific
Yes,
time,
yes.
Craig?
Timing, we've been trying to stick between 5 and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can look for that. We're a new channel, so we're sort of trying to figure out our best time periods to post new content. But again, this Sunday will be a post of a what I keep calling an episode. So it's something that Tanisha's editing together, that you can watch like a TV show that will give you the whole background of the story and the story arc. We'll also put up a case file that has some other facts in it. We'll be back again next Wednesday. Every Wednesday, you can find us here live at 7:30 p.m.
I like to call
Um,
it Wednesday Night Live.
Wednesday Night Live. Yeah, the SNL,
Yeah.
SNL. Um,
Okay, I'm a little
and
slow. I'm a little slow.
Okay, now.
and then
I'm a little slow.
then we'll follow next week's live with our main podcast, which is where we will dig in really deep for a good hour, a little more, and talk about the Colonial Parkway
Mhm.
murders. So, and that will sort of be our schedule from now moving forward.
And tell our people where they can leave questions and stuff for us at.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of the best place to leave them is anywhere in the comments on YouTube. So comments of this on Sunday, if you do watch the episode about the Colonial Parkway murders, which we hope that you do, and we hope that you also subscribe so you get notifications about all of this. You can leave questions there. You can tune in next week when we're live. You can ask questions there, and we'll collect those and go through them for our podcast. You can also leave questions in social media. We check everything. So on TikTok, we're on Instagram. We do have a Substack if that's sort of your preferred method. And then, of course, there's YouTube and Facebook.
And
And
don't
Craig.
binge. If you missed Keddie, go back and watch Keddie and
Yes.
then
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
watch the Parkway.
Mm-hmm. And we got, what is that? You're the technical person, Craig, but we got the visual podcast where they can actually see us, and then the traditional podcast too, right? Where they can just, listen as they're on the treadmill or something, right?
Yeah, yeah. So if you like to watch the podcast or watch the episodes, you can do that here on YouTube. If you're more of a listener, like you listen on a commute into the city or when you're driving to work in the morning or like Des said, working out or mowing the yard or whatever the case may be. We're on all the podcast platforms. So YouTube does have a podcast platform with just audio. You can also find us on Apple podcasts.
I'm too through with iHeartRadio.
We're on iHeartRadio. Yep. We're on
Amazon.
Amazon and on Spotify as well. So those are the big ones where you can find us.
So basically, we are everywhere they would need us to be there, right?
Yep. At 15 minutes of murder is where you're going to find
Mm-hmm.
us. Always the number 15 and then minutes of murder. We also have a website, 15minutesofmurder.com. And that also has all the resources you need to connect with us there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so everywhere they need us to be, that is where we are.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, you'll hear
Yeah.
my everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, everywhere you go.
So I'm excited about this Sunday's episode. I come from the TV background, so I love to
Mm-hmm.
watch these produced episodes that Tanisha makes.
I
And I'm
know they'd be good.
yeah, yeah. So,
It's really like watching TV.
mhm.
It,
Yep.
it's a lot of sitting with this information. It's almost like being, a juror in the courtroom, seeing just trauma after trauma
Mm-hmm.
and listening over and over and over again, just so that you can get it right and make sure you're doing the story just.
Right.
And, it gets to be a little bit hard, so I have to like take a break and play an app game or something. But you know what? It's I feel like everybody has something to offer. And, this is my way of turning my creativity into being able to try and help people. I've made lots of TV that probably, for lack of a better term, is not curing cancer. And I just want to do
Mhm.
something with my time and creativity that can, help people and,
Right.
and be useful.
We have
Yeah.
a good trio here of experience, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Both
Yeah,
ways.
and I think that because if you Google Keddie, California or 28 or whatever, you're gonna get a whole lot of sites and blogs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just that continuous plugging away, chipping at it, knocking on that door, to eventually someone's investigation agency is going to pick it up, or some kind of law enforcement agency is going to double back and say, let's give this a fresh look. But I think we are onto something in the way of allowing people to try to get that closure. And I feel that's such an overused word. But I don't know what else to call it other than just that, helping folks get closure. And as far as your analogy goes, curing cancer, yeah,
It's
that is that absolutely. That is a comparable um thing, you know what I'm saying, that we're trying to do.
yeah,
A comparable intention.
yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Well, um,
What?
thanks for tuning in. I was just gonna wrap it up and say good night.
Doesn't talk a lot, so we just shut up whenever he opens his mouth. We're like,
I know, because he's the boss of the boss.
I am not the boss. I am not the boss. I'm just here to keep us on track and make sure everyone out there gets to see what they want to see and interact with us and join this community that we're trying to
Hmm.
build here. So
yes. So thank you everybody for hanging out with us on our Wednesday night live.
Hmm.
On Sunday around 5:36 when we drop our next episode
Hmm.
of 15 Minutes of Murder, which will be the Colonial Parkway murders. And
Hmm.
thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next Wednesday.
Go find us, y'all. Leave us questions so we can talk to you. Because I
for
don't want to
sure.
just talk to these two all the time.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.